Working together, we can beat the coronavirus. A message from government.
Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations.
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with Starsat. Feel the heat.
Just watch this. Let the pictures tell you everything.
It's all the way through!
Oh, what about that? That was really special. Those are the moments that supporters will remember.
Feel the excitement.
That was delightful.
Feel the heat with Starsat. Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're gonna put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with Starsat. Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with Starsat.
The day will come when these measures are no longer needed. Until then, however, we must ensure that all our people receive adequate support. We look ahead to a better future. I have faith in the strength and the resilience of ordinary South Africans who have proven time and time again throughout our history that they can rise to any challenge that is presented to our country. We shall recover. We shall overcome.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
The power to defeat coronavirus is in our hands. Play your part by following these 5 basic precautions. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water or sanitizer for at least 20 seconds. Maintain a safe distance of at least 1.5 meters from people around you. Wear a cloth mask at all times when in public. Always cough or sneeze into your elbow or tissue. If you're an employer, screen your employees daily for symptoms of COVID-19 and where appropriate, refer for testing. Working together, we can beat the coronavirus. A message from government.
This is Galaxy Prime. Thank you so much for staying with us. We certainly appreciate it. My name is Audrey Chimanda Twala. We're coming to you live from our Midrand studios here in Johannesburg. You're watching Galaxy Universal Network. We are on channel 500. Now, before the break, I promised you that we'll be speaking to a presidential candidate of Benin. We get to find out a bit more about him, what his aspirations are, his background, and what policies that he hopes to implement in the West African nation. Just a brief recap of who our guest is called Mr. Ladislas Agbesi. He is a businessman. He is also a chairperson of the African Union Pan-African Business Forum, and he's also on the advisory board for APSA Gauteng in South Africa. Like I said, for the purpose of this interview, we'll be speaking specifically about his ambitions of being the president of Benin. You're at home. Welcome to joining the conversation. Our social media platforms are there for you to interact with us and engage us. Would love to hear from you, so please do say something if you're watching from wherever you are. So thank you so much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be in your wonderful studio, and it looks like the continent is growing very well.
Oh yes, absolutely. The media space is being opened, as you can see, and we're proud to be a part of that space.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes. As I was giving an introduction about you, quite a number of hats that you wear there. Could you just give us a brief synopsis of? I know you're a banker. That is your background. Going over now to being a presidential candidate for Benin elections that are slated for February 2021. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, I am an African. Like many a time, there is a renowned former president in South Africa who said, my identity is who I am. And I first of all identify myself as an African and Beninois of origin, and by extension Ghanaian. And I look at myself as a proud African in all aspects.
I want us to talk about a number of issues that Africa is facing. I know that you, I don't know if you're founder of the Pan-African Business Forum that is to fast-track the socio-economic development of the economy by lobbying for a better business environment, investment climate. Do you think it gives you a leg ahead of the troubles that Africa faces, especially now in the climate of COVID-19 economically?
Definitely, the Pan-African Business Forum is a coalition for the reinforcement of investment for Africa. It's a coalition who devised some of the policy which is integrated through the African Union and regional integration, some of the regional institutions. And I think that having worked many times with those regional bodies and the African Union and being part and parcel of policies and engaging those institutions, I think if you look at where we come from as Africa, and looking at African Union and seeing the passage of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as one of the greatest ladies who have lived a great impact in the African Union. I think the journey is not bad, but still there's a lot to do.
Yeah. I look at you and some would say you look very young to be a presidential hopeful. Just before you joined us, we're reading a story about Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, who's bidding for his 4th term in office, I think 40 years of wanting to rule. You know, we have an issue of lifetime presidents in Africa. Do you think age has anything to do with leadership when we see young people such as yourselves wanting to take up that space?
I think I was telling earlier on to some people, age, youth matters a lot, you know, because of the capacity which is demand from the leadership of the person. And, you know, you can't be a president is to be able to have your brain to anticipate a multitask. And after 65, you cannot be able to do that. And we will encourage that people look behind and choose among the youth to lead, because leadership needs all full capacity to be able to deliver.
And in terms of investment, a lot of countries, I'll put Zimbabwe for an example, and I'm sure you've heard this quite a number of times, that are trying to re-engage with the West, you know, to get investors to come on board. And it's not just Zimbabwe, but a lot of African countries to have investors from the West or from the East come on board and try to revive their economy, but with conditions that are, of course, favorable. South Africa at the moment has been approved for a fund from the IMF. And some people say that perhaps it's a sign of times that are not so good for the country. What are your thoughts with regards to that?
Let me start with the context of Africa. You know, let us be generous to IMF in some points. You know, through the structure adjustment program, there is many kind of program who have been put in place who enable 38 African countries to qualify for the adjustment program, which help them to manage their public debt and their growth and the deficit. So that one have allowed many African countries to tap into the Eurobond on the international market to access some kind of money for themselves. But it doesn't leave them there. Today, if you look at the growth which was projected for Africa, which is 2008 for the Sub-Sahara, which was 2.5 2018, and 2019 was 2.6, and this year we have the greatest recession in a decade because of COVID. But the problem with Africa is that to anticipate African solution, reform which is integrated in our mindset, which speak to our culture, which will enable us to move to the next level. So we have to say that corruption is one of the key things which is quite rampant in Africa. 50 billion each year in illicit which leave the continent. There must be a lot of mechanism which is put in place. South Africa have done a great job in that regards. Many African countries, more than 60% of them are still in that kind of paradigm shift, which is where the corruption is greater. You can't talk about growth, reform when you don't talk about how much live our continent. So the youth, the new generation of entrepreneurs which are coming, we need to see into them entrepreneurs who have been able to achieve something, who have been able to deal with crisis, challenges in terms of personal challenges, business challenges, and political challenges. And that enables them to understand the dichotomy in terms of leadership, what it takes to get there. So that's why we believe that you cannot be a Benin around Nigeria and not integrate your economy into Nigeria. That's how we said that Benin is just a country. By the way, I was talking 3 years ago in Geneva, telling many of the panel that times have gone for countries, small countries in Africa. We need to close small countries. Lesotho, Swaziland, those little countries, it makes the people to suffer. We need to integrate them. So if you look at Benin near Nigeria, it's a good one, but I tell the government of Nigeria, please, I want to be the CEO of Nigeria, of Benin. This is a 37 economy. What we need for our people, we must think about the well-being of our people, infrastructure, education, healthcare. That's the most important, and build a strong business case for our country. Not being just presidents because you want to be traveling, sitting in a fancy car, but we can still turn the business of the politics of today into business. That's why I believe that African Union is trying, but they are not doing much.
Yeah. I want us to address this right off the bat. You spoke of political challenges. The previous elections that were held in Benin, I understand the incumbent, Patrice Talon, seemed to have sidelined quite a bit of the opposition, the major opposition parties, the representatives that wanted to take part in those elections. How do you plan on circumventing that? How do you deal with that?
But at the moment, the opposition in Benin is regrouping. We're talking to the stakeholders, international criminal courts. We're talking to the European Union, the World Bank, sanctions in terms of, when you talk about prosperity for a country is cohabitation, working together, opposition and everybody together. Even in business, is when there is a competition where you do better. But if there's no competition, you cannot do better. We have our economy, which is run by a group of small people. And in our country, a president who put our former president in a house of arrest for 52 years. He's silent. There's no opposition in our country. The corruption is at peaks. The economy, 75% of the economy belongs to him. Our ports authority, there is a company who belongs to the president who collects the revenue on behalf of the country. And nothing moved in the country. Everybody left the country. He chased almost everybody out of the country overseas. And it is a concern for the ECOWAS. We have a discussion, and the COVID came and put a stop on the discussion. And they requested that we should meet after the COVID to rediscuss the position of where we are in Benin.
Right.
There is an election coming over in Benin, which is not recognized by the opposition, by the way. And we're looking at the moment, we are thinking about putting up in a government of unity in place.
National unity.
A national unity in place. By May next year, there will be a government of national unity in place, which you...
This is what you're hoping for?
Yeah, that's what we no, not something we're hoping for. It's something which have been discussed with the stake parties, from all stake parties in the ECOWAS, everybody. So we are looking forward for that.
Is President Talon coming to the table to make sure that there's a level playing field for all the participants that want to be a part of these elections? Are you guaranteed that you'll have a level playing field?
No, but we've have a certain discussion with the ECOWAS. They've met him several times. They said the envoy from the United Nations to him. He didn't listen to them. The ECOWAS sent somebody to him. He didn't listen to them. They request for him to do a dialogue. He didn't do it. So the ECOWAS told us that in partnership with the European Union that we should allow them to start this dialogue after the COVID. And I'll be going back to the country and meet with the opposition parties, and we will have a dialogue over there where we will put up a new government in place.
Right. And we'll take a very short break. Do stay with us. This conversation continues soon after this.
Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations.
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Just watch this. Let the pictures tell you everything.
It's all the way through!
Oh, what about that? That was really special. Those are the moments that supporters will remember.
Feel the excitement.
That was delightful.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat.
Well, welcome back to the program. We hope you managed to get yourselves a glass of water or a cup of coffee as you join us in this conversation with the presidential hopeful, Mr. Ladislas Agbesi. He is in conversation with us. We're talking to him about the policies that he hopes Benin will be able to realize should he be elected into power. Now, so let's take a look at where Benin is positioned. I mean, we see the violence that is happening across to your neighbors in Nigeria, in certain parts of that country, with Boko Haram issues that seem to not being able to be solved up until now. What role do you think the region plays in trying to silence the guns, as the AU would call it?
I must say, first of all, I need to congratulate the West Africa body, ECOWAS, for doing a lot. I was last year, I think October, in a summit in Ouagadougou for fight against terrorism and mechanism which is put in place. And we need to also thank the partners, which is Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, those people who care a lot for Africa, who have been putting a lot of resources to assist us to fight those kind of issues in Africa. And we will have the partners like European Union, the World Bank, everybody coming in. However, we need also to give a great salute to President Buhari for, under his leadership, there's a lot of work has been done in that kind of regards, fight against the terrorists. And but the most important we need to look at is collaboration among countries. And Benin play a greater role as a country near Nigeria. We are the apex of Nigeria. We contribute close to 15% of the GDP of Nigeria. 65% of the population of Nigeria depend on Benin. They are closer to us, which is active for business and everything. But we need to collaborate together. Benin is anticipating to be the center of intelligence and the fight against those terrorists.
Attacks.
Yes, because we believe that there is a frame which our previous government, from the President Kerekou, Yayi Boni, have put certain kind of mechanism in place. And I'm in a discussion with some African countries, Middle East, European countries, to put a base in Benin to curb that kind of pandemic in West Africa. You know, Benin can be the center, like Israel, to experiment a certain kind of methodology how to fight the terrorists and those Boko Haram. And Boko Haram issue, you must look at it from different points of view. There's issue of poverty, which some of the partner development are helping to push a lot of investment into it. The other issue is about the training of our youth, giving them some training, which is we are going to emphasize a lot on it to put a lot of job for them. The third one is have a very sound defense force. You cannot be a great nation without defense force. And this is one of the things in my mind that the three pillars who carry my vision for Benin is going to be, one of the pillars is about Benin, making Benin not just a greatest defense state for the region, also for the continent. Because having worked with South Africa, working with the whole continent, I believe that African Union is taking a long time to set up a special force for African Union. But my coming will speed up the process of putting special forces in Africa.
Right.
You cannot be a great continent if you don't have your own forces. And I think Saudi Arabia is doing something very well, looking at supporting Africa to get those things in place. Africa needs his own security. We don't need to rely always on United Nations security forces, but we can elaborate mechanism to put money in place to set up our special forces for Africa.
Right.
Yes, this is great.
Yeah, but Nigeria has looked to the West with regards to trying to find some kind of security, their security forces, and trying to fight Boko Haram. And I keep referring to them because I understand whatever happens in Nigeria could have a ripple effect to Benin, and you're alluding to that as well. In doing my research, I understand you have quite a bit of connections when it comes to the West. Would you tell us about that and how you plan on utilizing your connections to make sure that they can assist if they can, without, of course, compromising the sovereignty of African states as as we've seen with a lot of countries, they always say, you know, when we get help from the West or from Europe, there's always conditions that are attached to that.
I need to tell you something. Some of us, we grew up in West Africa, and understanding the geopolitics of Africa, President Buhari is a very smart guy, and he will never compromise the security of his country, neither of West Africa or neither the continent. Partnership means that we help each other to advance our vision to curb the terrorists. I believe that the engagement which is done in that area is in the right direction for us in West Africa. But however,
you mean West Africa and the United States? That's what I mean.
Yes, yes. Because you know the problem with the United States at the moment is that after the Iraq war, they've left. There is a lot of things which are left over there. They are talking to many African countries where they can support us to fight. It's not only in Nigeria. They're talking to South Africa. They're talking to many other African countries. In terms of deployment of those equipment over there, it's something which is not, they are not imposing on us, but they are coming in partnership, training our people and give those equipment for us. We have, for instance, in South Africa, they bought a lot of equipment from South Africa. I don't want to mention of them. And they don't need the use of it. So they're looking for a way of enhanced partnership with good countries which can use it efficiently. So I believe that you cannot do without partnership. But however, I came back to what I just said. My generation of leadership coming to power, we are emphasizing on our own African forces. You know, because to care for coup, to care for instabilities, because if we don't have a serious force, you see, China can meet any challenge from the West. You look at North Korea, you look at Russia and everything. But Africa, we are 54 countries. We can't stand anybody. Even South Africa, the people in the army here, all of them want tenders. People don't want to stay in the army. But just to say that Africa, the next thing which is key for us in the continent to build a strong defense capacity, air to the ground and technology, so that we own it, so that we can be able to talk to the other partners in the same level.
Yeah.
And I believe that we still have great people in the continent who can emulate those kind of discussions for us.
You spoke of having the United States coming in to partner and help. Let's take a look at what happened to Libya, the crisis that is still there right now. They came and they left, and it is a mess right there. How do we partner with the United States in making sure that when they do leave, you know, it's a progressive way of partnership?
You know, I always tell people that don't look at African Union, the president. Talk to people like us in the continent, because understanding the environment and the policy, the geopolitics is very important. I still believe that the aim of America is in the right direction to fight autocracy. But do they have the real intelligence on the ground to deal with Gaddafi? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. We saw Hillary Clinton, who apologized that what they did was wrong. We saw Obama, who is a big brother, a friend to mine, who also said that they were ill advised. Imagine if they were able to talk to intermediary partners, to integrate the intermediary partners. Today we believe that next time we will not do things the same way. President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke to Haftar in Libya. I encourage him to talk to him, but I also encourage him to talk to the family of Muammar Gaddafi, because today the military people have tried in Libya for many years. Nothing have been successful. So I believe that the family of Muammar Gaddafi, through the son, I think that he's looking for, they must give him a chance. Give a chance to everybody. Because people have been fighting for 10 years. No result. Haftar is fighting for 10 years. No result. Every day there's fight. But let us give a chance to somebody who have the backup of the whole continent, known by the whole continent, and who want to reconcile Libya, put Libyans together, people who accept him. This is what we want to see in Africa. This is a new generation of our leaders.
So you're speaking of African solutions to African problems.
Of course, that's what I'm trying to say, is that we need to have African solution. Like, it's a very good step for President Cyril Ramaphosa to speak to after. Has he spoken to the main person, which is the family of Gaddafi? No. Which is the key part of the whole issues. No. You need to talk to them to bring everybody together. We want democracy. We don't want war anymore. We don't want people to... We've tried with the military. Gaddafi also was a military. Now, we don't want that anymore. So let us start looking at a different kind of perspective, but talk to the stakeholder. Africa's solution is the most important for us. We can't rely on outside
intervention. Yeah.
Intervention.
So you're saying, while they mean well, when they come in, they need to understand the nuances of the political landscape that they're trying to assist, so they know how to be able to assist in mediating, in trying to find solutions.
Definitely, definitely. You know, the problem is that Africa is not innovative. They are not aggressive. The loyalty does not exist anymore. You see, how can you put sanction in Zimbabwe and all of you still go to United Nations? You can't do that. If I'm a president and you put sanction on Mugabe, I will not go to United Nations.
So there should be that solidarity within African leaders.
Attack on one of us is attack on all of us. That's why in Benin, when the president of Benin killed our people and didn't allow the opposition to go to election, he's my friend. I said, no, you're not my friend. Attack on one of us, attack on all of us. If you put sanction on any African countries, all of us have to be against you.
But then how then does South Africa then go and ask for money from the IMF if then you're speaking ill of people that are giving you a hand donations? No, so they have to balance those differences as well.
In the case of South Africa, is different because I heard the partners of South African government, which is the other partners, was making a bit of noise. You know, despite the COVID have created the biggest recession in Africa, the sub-Sahara, and we've seen damage in terms of jobs, productivity, and everything. But still, South Africa is still relevant. If you look at a report from Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, all of them still recommend people to buy the South African bond. There's still hope in South Africa. The other thing also is that in terms of the package which is being given from the IMF and the World Bank, South Africa got the biggest one, which is 4.3 billion. And African Development Bank gave them some. You see, Nigeria got 3.4 and Algeria 2.1. And you see that there's still something, despite everything is happening. What South Africa have received is called emergency fund, not to support. It's an emergency fund.
So there's a difference.
It's a difference, yeah. Because when the people were fighting, it's not a fund which is attract a structure adjustment criteria where you have to live with a structure adjustment burden. It's an emergency fund to help to cover the health emergency. It's certain kind of a priority for the government because it's a huge economy. You understand? And if you see how the bond is fluctuating and everything in the country, South Africa have responded very good to the pandemic. However, I still think that the government of South Africa, as a big player in a SADC, supposed to integrate the plate of Zimbabwe and the other country when it comes to him to deal with we are one, we are family.
Well, the issue of the sanctions, they've been vocal about it. They've been lobbying for the US to remove the sanctions on Zimbabwe. Whether they've done enough is, something that needs to be looked at. But they have spoken about it.
I think the African Union need to take a decisive decision to cancel all the debt of Zimbabwe. Because if you continue like that, there will not be a country in the next 7 years. Mark my word. 7 to 20 years, there will not be a country in Zimbabwe. African Union, African Development, they need to make an emergency meeting and go together with the government of Zimbabwe in front of IMF, European Union. They've done it in other countries. What they call, other people call it Marshall. We don't call it Marshall. We can call it Shaka Zulu program. We need to sit down with them and say, we don't trade with you.
Until this is resolved.
Until this is resolved, because
so perhaps they're counting on the disunity of Africa.
That's why
this is why they can impose the sanctions and not get any consequences from anyone else, because other countries still need to trade with the West and they still need to maintain those relationships.
You know, there's something we call in French ganglion lymphatic. When you have a sore in your leg and the other leg doesn't make sure that you don't feel it in the body to deal with it, they'll cut the two legs. If South Africa, which is a giant in Sub-Sahara, does not talk about the emergency meeting to deal with that situation, you know very well that in South Africa, 3 to 8% of the middle class people into the workers are from Zimbabwe. In the financial sector, I've worked with them. These are the smart guys who are working here. But you cannot sit, the economy are intertwined. Language, culture, everything is intertwined. So you need to integrate it, because the GDP of Zimbabwe respond to how the growth of South Africa works.
Right.
Because they are intertwined. So if you don't do anything, you destroy your economy, insecurity will be high. So the South African, how do you call it, the tripartite alliances need to sit down, which is in governing body of South Africa, to make a decisive decision to deal with that kind of problem. And that if there is no economy in Zimbabwe, the growth of South Africa will be cut into two. At the moment it's 0.9, less than that, 0.5. It will be 0.01. And what happened? The growth is no more there. The GDP is depleted. Everybody live. Insecurity.
Right.
So this is what the people need to anticipate in the future in terms of leadership. And leadership is not just meeting, but focus, think ahead.
Have foresight.
Foresight, yeah, that's quite important. And I've been saying it. I have opportunity to meet Mugabe. I've had opportunity to meet Mnangagwa. The two people are, for me, great people. And I don't want to differentiate between the two people. And I still think that if a bit of oxygen is given to Zimbabwe, it will change the whole SADC. Because there are people of capacity, smart, great people. They can make the change.
What do you then say to the human rights record that really is appalling, that has been coming from countries like Zimbabwe as the part of the conditions for the sanctions to be removed? It appears Zimbabwe has not been able to rectify that. We still hear of a lot of people getting abducted and killed. August 1st, 2 years ago, people were shot with live ammunition in front of international media soon after elections. How do you deal with that? With my little experience, I still believe that the human right is intertwined with the poverty. When there is no money, there's a poverty. There's still issue of disproportionalities, discriminations. And because Zimbabwe needs reforms, the World Bank is not putting so much money for them to anticipate their reform. You need to, what is a country needs is about the capacity building. You need to come and participate in the capacity building. But if the people don't have, they have to survive. How do they go to school? How do they build the issue you are talking about? I'm not here to defend the government, but I'm just here to say that law and order are issue of development and poverty. If there's money, if people have a better life, you don't have law and disorder in a country. Speaking of human rights, you said you have the ear of former President Barack Obama with the crisis that we saw happening in Libya during his term, his presidential term. Some say that it is easy for African leaders to be held accountable when it comes to human rights abuses. He came in with his army and millions of people were killed in Libya. Still up to now, the country is in tatters. What responsibility does he take?
I actually think that Obama doesn't have a responsibility. The person who has a responsibility, we all know who was leading that program. He called NATO as a, how do you call it, as a partner. He called the US to support them, because you must understand, in the global world, they help each other whenever there's a crisis.
NATO.
And the French was, with Sarkozy was in power at that time. He had a crisis in Libya, and he wanted to deal with it. And the Americans came in. But the person who was leading it was the French government. And I think the French government have changed position now. They are now understanding what is happening in Libya now. And I think things will be different. But putting the blame on Obama, I don't think so. Because somebody who acknowledged that there was a mistake there, he have said it publicly. Because, they are partners. That's what Africa don't have. They are partners, and they are in the same body. So if France is helping America in a certain kind of fight against terrorism, and France need them, they need to work together. But we don't do that. That's what I'm talking about Zimbabwe. I'm talking about Benin. We need to work together. So I still think that Obama was not so aggressive because this is his continent. People think that he's being too much, too inclined with Africa because he's African. But I still believe that because he's our brother, is already, for him to be a president is a grace for us. And I think that in terms of human rights in Libya today, we will blame it on the government of French, all the government who are over there, because we were able to tell them, don't do it. South Africa, under the leadership of President Zuma, said, no, let us discuss. They didn't listen to them. The ANC fought for it, said, let us have another discussion. The same thing. So we think that the African leadership need to have a strong decision. They need to stand together. They need to stand
together.
Strong
sense of unity.
Yeah, sense of unity. So today what we are seeing in Libya, for this not to happen again, we need to talk to all the parties. You can't talk to the parties without talking to the family of Gaddafi. They are relevant. And especially when the family, through his son, want to reconcile Libya. Give him a chance. Let us have election. Let us have election over there. Let's allow people to speak. But we've tried with some general who keep on spending money. With another general, we don't want, Africa doesn't need war. Now we need to start talking about reconciliation in Libya. Our next agenda is about reconciliation with the family of Gaddafi. Because when South Africa did the truth reconciliation, who were the people at the table at the truth reconciliation? It was the people who killed our black people. How can you do truth reconciliation without the family of Gaddafi? How can you ever think of reconciliation without a family of Gaddafi? You're talking to the Tripoli, Benghazi. You need to put everybody together so that they reconcile the country. Maybe the family of Gaddafi want to say, I'm sorry to the people. Maybe the people also want to say, I'm sorry. So that is the basis of the new Libya we want to see from now.
All right. What is your position regarding Palestine and Israel?
I think when you talk to, biblically, we have always, as a human being, we have two positions. As a Christian who believe in God and who have lived all my life to the mercy of God, I believe that Israel is still relevant for me as a man of God. But in the geo-context of politics, human rights of people of Palestine is an issue for me. So I still think that
specifically with regards to human rights.
Specific to regard to the human rights. So I still think that there is a conversation there we need to have when it comes to the Palestine, which is not for me, because I want to separate the two parts. If you know where we come from, what defines us as a Christian, it's not about Netanyahu, and it's about our Father. I always regard myself as an embodiment of David, Joseph, and Moses. Where do I get those one from if there's no Israel? And when I talk about that, and God have mercy on them, why can't we have mercy on Palestine?
But as somebody who's looking to be a leader of a country, you were speaking of African leaders needing to have unison in decisions that they make. What position would you want Africa to take with regards to that particular issue?
They need to be on the side of the weak, which is Palestine. It's not negotiable. Because our life depends on where God is always for the weak. And we have to stand by the Palestinian. And that's why I told you my belief is separate for what is the reality. You understand? Africa need to have a position on Palestine. Because, if there was no position on ANC, there will not be South Africa. There will not be ANC today. So I think that the position must be Palestine. But I know that I recognize Israel as a believer.
As a believer, so you've got that conflict there.
It's
but,
a conflict
but as a leader, you have a position that you've taken.
Yes.
That's fine. Let's bring it a bit closer to home in Africa. The issue of West Sahara and Morocco. West Sahara wanting to have their own autonomy. The African Union, I think they've now recognized them as the 55th state of Africa.
The issue of Sahrawi, I'm one of the people who have worked closely with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Morocco, Bourita. I've worked with them. I was privileged to understand what is happening over there. But in terms of the Sahara issue, I don't know whether we are doing it right or not. I still believe that we need to give chance to the people of Sahara to live. But if you come to what I said at the beginning, do we allow small countries to live? These people in Sahrawi, they have passport of Algeria. Some other people have passport in the other side. Do you want them to suffer like that for 100 years? It's a decision the African Union need to make. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And this thing started with the late Muammar Gaddafi, started with some people, and that thing is dead still today. Morocco left, they came back. We fought for them here in South Africa. We fought for them. They have an ambassador, which is less than 1 year. But Morocco need to learn to be true to himself in this situation. We need to blame all the parties. They need to be true to themselves, not to try to reconvert the new generation of African to believe in them with lies. They need to find a way to integrate that in their policy. We embrace them, but we still believe that there's a different way of looking at that issue. I said, small countries does not survive. As an economist, it's going to be there. The people of Sahara, they live where? Where is their government? Why do we want to spend money on them? Till when? Is it ego issue? What do we do? Better, we don't want other people to use it for their own interests. That is what Africans have to say no to the two parties. You want to use it for your own ego. We don't want that. We want harmony. We want peace in the continent. That's what we need to expect. I've worked a lot with Algeria, the government of Algeria, and they are one of our pioneers. They give scholarship to the people in Benin. In our countries, what South Africa has never done. Algeria have done a lot for us. And but they never claim to be the giant of Africa. Do you understand? Mm. But the new Africa we are looking at is a new generation who have a different kind of thinking. We want to have things differently. That's why I embrace Julius Malema, who said that Africa of tomorrow must not be the Africa we've seen. You know, people are still in government, they are more than 70 years. They are taking tablets of diabetics. How can you expect them to think? After 65 years, you should not be able to run a government. It's a multi-task function, which needs all your sense, all your mind, your ability to think 24 hours.
Right, as we wrap this conversation, as we bring it to a close, you're speaking to people that are in Benin right now that are watching this program. What policies do you want to implement? What issues do you think, if you were to be elected, you would hit the ground running immediately?
I think the most important for us is that my people are suffering. And the most important is that to alleviate the poverty. That's key. You know, I just have I saw people, the teachers, the new government have removed them. They suspend them. Some of them were driving their motorbike to go and look for what to eat, and they can't kill them. This is what I don't want to see. I want to give hope to my country. I think the greatest hope for them is me. And that hope is going to contaminate the whole region. I know if Africa is the gun, Benin is a trigger. I'll put that trigger, there will be impact on the continent.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. We certainly appreciate it. All the best next year as you run for the presidential elections. We certainly will be following up that story and giving our viewers a first-class seat to the Benin presidential elections.
Thank you, Madam. It's a great pleasure to be on your program. And I look forward to see you guys. And not only in South Africa, we want to see you all over the continent.
Of course. Oh, well, we are live across the continent, but perhaps we'll actually come to Benin to cover these presidential elections.
No, you'll come to cover our transition government from next year. There's going to be a transition government next year. And with that transition government, you are going to be invited. The European Union is going to be there. The ECOWAS is going to be there. Everybody is going to be there. And you'll be invited. Thank you.
We have you on record saying that, so you can't take that back. We'll hold you. We'll hold you to that. Thank you so much for speaking to us. But in presidential hopeful, Mr. Ladislas Agbesi talking to us about issues not only about Benin but across the continent, saying the only hope that the continent has is unity. Of course, we'll be leaving it there for now. Thank you for joining us and watching the program. Leave your comments on our Facebook pages live as we speak. Our Twitter handle at GUN_TV_. Mine is at Audrey Chimwanda. From myself and the team behind the scenes, have a good night.